Tonight I am, if you got a text message from me, delivering what I'm calling the state of the church. I was looking back over some of my notes from 2012 when I once delivered a state of the church to a brand new church that was just a few months old, 4 months old to be exact. And as I delivered that state of the church, I read in the pages that I delivered to that group of 200 people at that time in January of 2012, a message that I believe was one that God had given to our church and was one that He had set us off on to accomplish. And I feel like that tonight He's brought us together for just a reminder, but also a checkup, because we had some goals that we wanted to meet during that year. And not only did God meet those goals in that year and the years to pass, but He has done exceedingly more than we could have asked for or imagined as He has been using Freedom Church. Tonight I am doing a state of the church, and so I expect that half of the room will sit and cross your arms and scowl at me. The other half of the room will get up and clap at every word I say, no matter if it's good or not. Does anybody got that? Apparently you didn't watch the State of the Union like I did. That's what happens, apparently, at the State of the Union. You pick a team and you cheer for them, regardless of whether they drop the ball or not. When we started Freedom Church a little over 6 years ago, with a group of about 80 people, I'm just eyeing it right now, but I would guesstimate there's close to 300 people in here, somewhere in that neighborhood. It's a group of 80 people on a core team that believed that they could reach, change, see Jesus do incredible things in Berkeley County. Most of those 80 people were from Berkeley County for a lifetime. Some of them, like you, had moved into Berkeley County and it had become home to them. And as we sat around, we met with these 80 people. We prayed with them. We got together in small groups with them, and we painted a picture of the type of church that we believe that God had called us to be. And there were a few important things that we identified in those early days that were going to be our core as a church. You've probably heard these before if you've been around at all. And that is, first, that we were going to be a gospel-centered church. In other words, we want to be a church that is out of balance. Do you understand what I'm saying? We are out of balance. We're not trying to find balance. We are out of balance in our pursuit of those who are far from God but close to you. And so we put our eye on the people who are not here yet, unlike any other people that are here yet or people that have come. We're saying, who's not here yet, and how can they learn about Jesus? And we want them to find freedom in Christ. That's our number one goal. We've said that from the very beginning. There are a lot of things that we choose to do here and a lot of things that we don't do here because of that goal. The gospel will be said and heard by thousands of people in Berkeley County, and many will choose to allow Jesus to save them. The second core that we came up with is we said that we want to be a church that worships. We value worship and believe that there is something powerful about getting together and having demonstrative. In other words, we demonstrate to God through our actions that we love Him and that He is so much bigger than us and that He deserves every single bit of our praise. And so we believe in worship through song, and we wanted to be a church that was known for a church that worshiped. And a church that went after the Spirit of God in every way that we could, emotionally, physically, spiritually, that we would be a demonstrative worshiping church. We also said that we wanted to live authentically in community. How many of you know there's not a lot of vulnerability and authenticity in our world today? Probably those that you would count some of your best friends don't really know what's going on in your life. We are a church that in many ways, or not a church, but a people that in many ways hides who we are, tries to act like everything is okay, surrounds ourselves with people who will believe us when we tell those lies, and we call them our best friends. And we said, we want to be different. We thought it was even worse in some of the churches that we had grown up in, because of some of the churches that we had grown up with, and we said, you know what? It is the job of those who come to church to fake it. And we want to be authentic. And we want to, like Pastor Robbie said, we're just a bunch of broken people together, sharing in our brokenness because we know the one who heals us. And we know the one who fixes us. I don't have it all together, but I've got a God who's putting me back together one piece at a time, and he knows exactly how to do it. And so we want to be in community. And we know the greatest growth opportunities for a person, that's you. We know the greatest growth opportunity for a person comes in the context of a small group of people. Circles are greater than rows. You're going to get together in a circle, and we know that's where life change will really begin to happen. And we have been preaching this from day one, and we believe it more now with 1,500 people gathering every weekend than we ever have, that we've got to have authentic community among us to truly be the church. The fourth thing that we said was something that we believed our church wanted to be about was generosity. We said we want to be a church that talks about generosity, that believes in generosity, that celebrates generosity, and we want to be a generous people so that our church can be a generous church and make a difference in our community with our time, our talent, and our treasure. And I think over the last 6.5 years, we have unashamedly and actually very excitedly asked you to be a generous church. We've celebrated when you've been generous. We've asked you to grow in it. And we have, I believe, one of the early questions that we asked of ourselves is, will our community miss us if we go away? And I believe that we have become a church that Berkeley County would miss us if we went away. And we said, we'll do that through generosity. That's why we don't do fundraisers. Some of you probably asked before, why don't they do fundraisers and let us do some fundraising for the kids, and we'll sell donuts, and we'll sell, do I need any more donuts? I mean, really. We'll sell gift cards, and we'll sell this, and we'll stand outside of Walmart and sell this. And we said, we don't want to be a church that's asking for something. We want to be a church that's giving something all the time. So we are. Shot down fundraiser after fundraiser, and I've come to the church on multiple occasions and said, hey, why don't you just pay for these people to go instead of needing a donut in return for it? Wash your own car. Let a youth go to camp anyway. How about that? And over again, you guys have done that. I asked some of our most generous and faithful people just a few weeks ago if they would just take on the task of creating some scholarships for our youth that are going to camp this summer. And I was blown away by their generosity. Blown away. Dozens of students will be able to go to camp who can't afford it. And not one donut was hurt in the making of that movie. So we want to be generous. We believe these four things echoes the words of Jesus when he gave his first sermon about the mission of the church in Luke chapter 4. We believe it echoes that. We believe it says exactly what he said, and that's where we got it from. Listen, it says, and Jesus returned in the power of the Spirit to Galilee, and a report about him went out through all the surrounding country. Let me tell you something. When Jesus starts showing up in a church, the report about him goes out in all of the country. It goes out everywhere. Somebody said, how do you know Freedom Church is going to grow? I said, because I believe when Jesus shows up, it grows. When Jesus shows up, people go, I need him. And he taught in their synagogues, being glorified by all. And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up. And as his custom, he went to the synagogue on the Sabbath day. Jesus went to church on the Sabbath day, by the way. If you ever hear anybody say that it's just not that way anymore, I can find Jesus out in the duck blind. No, you can't. You can find ducks out in the duck blind, and you don't even find many of them. So come to church on Sunday mornings, because that's where Jesus is showing up sometimes. So come there. Anyway, Jesus went to church. See, y'all are clapping like the thing I told you not to. You're doing that is good, but I'm going to keep preaching if you do that. I lost my place. I don't even know where I was. He stood up to read. And the scroll of the prophet Isaiah was given to him, and he unrolled the scroll and found the place where it was written. So Jesus says this, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. God, let the Spirit of the Lord be upon us. Let us if we just do that one thing that Jesus said in his first sermon, Let the Spirit of the Lord be upon me. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me because He has anointed me to proclaim the good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim liberty to the captives and the recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty those who are oppressed, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. And at Freedom Church, it's not about a strategy for us. In other words, that's the how we do it. We're never married to the how. Never married to how. We believe we are doing church right now in the best way to reach people and seems to be working. We also believe we will change that tomorrow if it needs to be changed. So we're not worried about the how. Never will be. But it's always about the mission, what Jesus called us to do. And so if we get mixed up and start believing that the how is more important than the why, we start to build some idols. And you've seen this in churches before. They're idols. They're programs that we've always done. There's things that we've always done it this way. The youth have always gone to this place. They've always met at this time. They've always used this room. That's always been my pew. That's always been my pew. What are you talking about? I can't move because that's always been my seat. That's always been my parking space. And we build these idols up because this is the way we've always done it. And when we do that, we build these idols to programs and ministry ideas. Even a small group that you've been in too long and refuse to break up, even though every single one of you in there should be leading a group, can become an idol. It's an idol of comfort. Even though you know that the position that you're serving in once a month is not enough to really accomplish what God has put into your heart, but yet that's the easy thing to do. And so when someone challenges you to step up into a role of leadership, you're not willing to break the idol in your life of comfort. It's an idol. Stop preaching, Wood. You're just preaching too much. You're not getting to the state of the church address. See, I got to talk to myself sometimes. If y'all don't do that, you need to talk to yourself more. It helps you. All right. Small group can become an idol if you're unwilling to ever grow. And this is why, listen, from the very beginning, I told that very first group we met with, I said, we sketch our strategy in pencil and we etch our mission in stone. That's what we've always said we would do. And as I understand it, there is a military concept, and I only understand it because I've never been in the military. Nobody in my family's really ever been in the military. My grandfather was a cook in the military against his wishes. He was drafted, and he cooked, and that's all he did. And as soon as he could come home, he did. So we don't have any military lineage. I don't have any of that really in my family. But I know that there's something called the commander's intent. Anybody been in the military, learned this in the military? We got any ex-military, current military here that understand this? There's something called the commander's intent. In Luke chapter 4, Jesus gave us the commander's intent. It is the commander's stated vision which defines the purpose of an operation and the end that you want to get to. And everybody who's ever fought a battle knows that Mike Tyson was right when he said, everybody's got a plan till you get punched in the face, right? Everybody's got, and the commander's intent said, there's where we want to be, is over there. The plan is to go this way, but if we end up having to go over here, and then over here, and then back there, and then around the corner, that's where we want to get. And what Jesus told us in Luke chapter 4 is he said, this is where we want to get. This is the clearly defined goal. And here's what he told us. Number one is we see in this that the church belongs to Jesus. He is the senior pastor of this church. It may sound hokey, but the reason that my title is lead pastor is because I lead this church, but Jesus is the senior pastor of this church. I am not. No offense to anybody who takes that other title. It's just what I'm saying. And so we submit to him. It is his church. This is not our church, and he gave us the mission. He already has a mission. We do not have a mission statement as a church. We have a vision statement, not a mission statement, because Jesus gave us the mission of the church. Nobody needs to sit around and think about what the mission of the church is, because Jesus didn't die for something that he didn't already have a mission for. He already had a plan. He already knew what was going on. He already had a mission. And here it is. Our role is to carry out that mission. That's our role. That's what God has called us to do. So then, how do we put this commander's intent into some language that we can understand? The first thing is that we are to proclaim the good news to the poor. That's the gospel. We're to proclaim the good news. That is the mission. That's what we're here to do, sharing with them the good news. And what is the good news? That Jesus died and that free people from captivity of sin. That is what we do. We free people from the captivity of sin because of his death. That's the gospel. That's the good news. That's what we're going to share with people. That despite their pain, that despite what they're going through right now, that despite what they've done, that despite what the odds that are against them, that Jesus came and he died for them. And you've been captive to something before. And what we always want to be is a church that remembers when we were captive. Because free people even better. Free people know what it's like to have been captive, and they go out and they serve people, and free people love people, and free people worship, and free people are real, and free people go, I know what it was like. I didn't have it all together, but he came and he did something in me, and he broke the chains in my life. And then it says that we heal people of the blindness of unbelief. So we want to be about that. We wanted to speak to people, and maybe you were one of these people who came in here and you were burnt out, maybe on religion. You had unbelief, doubt in your life. You didn't believe that there was a God that would love you, whatever it was. And we wanted to be a church that said we want to speak to people in their darkest hour. We want to be relevant to people in their darkest days. And we want to be a light unto their path to finding Jesus. And then he says we give liberty to the oppressed. There are some people, and you know who they are. Many of you have been there. Many of you are still there yourself, who aren't just captive spiritually, but you're in oppression. There's an oppression on you because of addiction. There's an oppression on you because of a hurt that has taken a seed into your life, and a root of bitterness has grown up. There is a oppression that holds you down because of some pain and anger in your life. And you know that there are many, many more people like that in this county because you know them. They're far from God, but they're close to you, and you love them. And we want to see liberty given to the oppressed. And as I look at this as a church, so my job is to be ahead of us as a church. My job is to be leading us, lead pastor, and to say, where are we going? What are we doing? What's coming next? Trying to anticipate the need for 23,000 more square feet, trying to anticipate the need for more leaders, trying to anticipate the need for a change. And as I look at this as a church, there's something that always concerns me as we grow. And listen, I'm the one, I want to grow. I want to grow. I don't think that anything that is vibrant and has the living Spirit of God welling up inside of it cannot grow. I want to grow. But as we grow, if there's anything that concerns me, and listen, we're not even close to being a big church yet. I think it is laughable that in a county of 200,000 people, 160,000 of which never even think about God, that we would believe that having 1,500 people on a weekend is a big church. We are a tiny church because I believe in a bigger God than that. So I'm still praying for growth, and I want growth. But I have this eye out for something, and it is mission drift. It doesn't matter who you are, you will begin to drift away from your mission. Whether it's your mission as a family, whether it's your mission at work, whether it's your mission and your goals in life, it doesn't matter who you are, there is just a natural drift away from what we declare our mission to be. And as a church, as we grow and new people come, and we're trying to onboard people as quickly as possible, and we're trying to get them to catch the vision, and we're trying to get them to understand what those 80 people understood so much. My fear, and what I'm always looking out for, is mission drift. It's so easy to start doing things and not even realize that you have drifted away from the mission of the church. So we have been taking some time over the last few months, and we've started a process as a staff of saying, what is it that we do uniquely well as a church? What is it that we believe that God has positioned us in Berkeley County to be about? What are those things that we think are the DNA of who we are, that we have to do those? Because once you answer the question as a person or church, an organization, a business, whatever it is, what do I have to do? It makes it so much easier to answer the question of, well, what can I not do? Because once you know what you have to do, you can easily eliminate what you maybe are not called to do. So we've been taking that time and asking questions of ourselves. And I think that there are a couple of areas that concerns me. Let me celebrate first. This is the state of the church. We have always been about reaching people that are far from God, but close to you and finding freedom in Christ. And can I tell you, we have baptized 558 people as a church. You may have noticed, this is inside information to my First Wednesday crowd. You may have noticed that the last baptisms that I wasn't baptizing people. I baptized number 500 and got out of the tub at that point and allowed these other great pastors who pastor people and get to see them do amazing work, God do amazing work in their life, to start baptizing people. It was one of my greatest honors to be able to baptize people at Seacoast Church, and that Pastor Greg would allow us to do that was a great honor. But on number 500, I walked down, and here's why. I said, there are pastors that I know throughout the country who will never in their entire life baptize 500 people. And I've had the opportunity to personally baptize 500 people at this church. I got out of the baptismal and just wept. I was emotional about it. I told the crew beforehand that I was going to do it, and I was emotional about it. And I don't get emotional, Connie. I don't even do that. Like, my eyes don't leak very often. And so I was emotional about it because I was hit by the fact that we have done what we said we were going to do. But can I tell you that the 558 are so important? If you're one of them, I'm so honored to have baptized you. But the 1,000th is going to be important. The 2,000th person is going to be important. And we're not giving up on them yet. But we've done an incredible job there. I think we've become a demonstratively worshiping church to some extent. I mean, when you've got a bunch of old Baptists like me that we didn't even know how to put our hands together, you know, and now you got them raising their hands in the air like they just don't care. You got them dancing a little bit, not well, but dancing a little bit. I mean, we got demonstratively worshiping. We are a worshiping church. There are moments on the weekend where I just look around and go, man, at least 30% of this crowd gets it. Like, gets it. They're worshiping. We've put out a couple of albums as a church. I think we're leaders in the area of worship. I think every single weekend you come and you grab off of the top shelf when it comes to our worship. I think that we have grown. We're doing amazing. It's incredible. Incredible. We're growing on the weekend to the point where we're having to expand. So we've done a good job there. I think we've stuck to that mission. Can I tell you, in the area of finances, so proud of this church. We continue to grow in our generosity in that area. In the area of the small groups where they exist now, I mean, there are small groups I see incredible life-giving going on in. So we're doing an incredible job. As the state of the church goes, I couldn't be prouder to be your pastor. But I've got to look at two areas, and I go, with the amount that we've grown, these two areas have not followed. And that tells me we've had a mission drift. That tells me that as a leader, I haven't done a good enough job projecting the vision. And that as followers of this church and leaders in this church, and that we haven't done a good enough job executing on the mission in these areas. The first area is in small groups. Can I tell you why I believe that we're having a mission drift in the area of small groups? Is because right now we have more people that desire to be in a small group than we have people who are willing to lead a small group. And I don't know anything else to do other than say, come on, we're better than that. We're better than that. And we're going to do better than that. And I want to take the opportunity tonight to go, we're going to get back on track. We're going to get back on track and projecting to this church that it is so important. We have allowed it to drift from me all the way down. We've allowed it to drift. and we know it's important, and we know that it is essential, and we're going to have the guts to get up and say we've had some mission drift, and now we're going to have the guts to fix it. And so we're going to be calling on you to stop sitting in your group when you've got 40 years of life experience and ministry. Can I just tell you, if you've got gray hair and you love Jesus, you ought to be leading a small group. Because there's some young people in this church, cover your ears, millennials, that ain't got a clue. Ain't got a clue. All right? So you need some gray hairs. I have forgotten so much that I thought I knew when I was 24 years old. Like I thought I knew everything then, and now I don't hardly know anything at all. So I have forgotten so much. So we need you. And you've got something to offer. I was talking with somebody not that long ago, and they said, oh man, I want to give the young people a chance. Can I tell you something about this church? The young people are getting a chance. You don't have to worry about the young people getting a chance, because the young people are kicking butt and taking names in this church. All right? When people start talking about how millennials don't go to church anymore, I say, you must not have been to Berkeley County and been to Freedom Church lately, because there's a whole bunch of them in this church. But they are saying, and this is what they're saying to me, and they're saying to Connie, and they're saying to others, is we want somebody to mentor us. Like we want to grow, but we don't have the answers. We don't have a clue. We need help. And they're willing to do some amazing things, but they need some people to come alongside of them and love on them and care for them and tell them the stupid mistakes that you made in your life. I call it dumb tax. Don't make them pay the dumb tax that you already paid. Like you can share some stuff with them. So we want to do something there. The second area is in community engagement. When we started this church, we had as many people come and hand out book bags to the kids at Whitesville Elementary that we handed out a book bag to over 700 kids, and we were a church of about 180 people. And we stuffed book bags and handed out thousands of dollars worth of book bags and made an incredible impact. And 100%, I believe I can say that with authority, 100% of our church was there that day, because we hadn't even launched yet. And there were people that hadn't even come to our church yet that came to serve. And we were involved in the community to a level that was incredible. And I believe we are still, one of the most untold and best kept secrets of our church are the 3 adoptive blocks that show up every single month in their adoptive blocks. And they do incredible work there. They do amazing things in those adoptive blocks, and that's going on every single day. Some of the incredible things that are happening through our adoption and orphan care that goes on not only in our closet out here, but trainings that we do, and amazing ministry that's happening. It's incredible what's going on. But can I tell you, as I look at the way that the church has grown and the way that our engagement in the community has grown, it has not kept pace. Hasn't kept pace. Quite frankly, we ought to have 6 or 7 or maybe 8 adoptive blocks at this point. We shouldn't just have 3. Quite frankly, we shouldn't just have a closet, a Dream Center closet for clothes. We should have a food pantry. We should be doing ministry on the weekly basis. We should be helping people in greater ways. We are a great church in this county, and we have a great responsibility because of it. And because of what God has given us, we now have a responsibility to carry out His mission. And so we've had some mission drift. Our community engagement hasn't been exactly where I think it should be, where I want it to be, where I think we all desire it to be. And that's been our goal from the very, very beginning. However, we're not there yet. So here's what I know about leadership. You must have the courage to say no to something in order to be able to say yes to the most important things. You've got to. Leadership is more about courage than it is about knowledge. Leadership is about being willing to make the courageous decision that everybody knows you need to make. Knowledge is not the problem, but doesn't have the courage to make in the moments when they need to make them. If you want to know, how do you become the boss where you are? Why is the boss where you are? At some point, they had the courage to make a decision that you probably wouldn't have had the courage to make. You start having the courage to make those decisions, and you'll rise up quickly. And we know that that's what we have to do. So here's what we want you to be able to say yes to. This is just a recasting of the same vision, but we're going to give you some handles to it so that you can carry it as a church. And we're believing that the 300 people here tonight are going to serve like the 80 people did back in 2012, and you're going to be the ambassadors here. And here's what we believe that we have to say yes to. Serving on the weekend at Freedom Church. The incredible ministry that is happening here on the weekend, in this room, out in the parking lot, out in the foyer, in our care areas, wherever somebody can find to pray for somebody. And come on, this is where you need to clap. Back in Freedom Kids area. And I will adopt into the weekend. I'm going to adopt them into the weekend for just a moment. Right over here, my man Alex and his crew on Wednesday nights. Averaging 100 students every single Wednesday night. 14 students got saved just a couple weeks ago, gotten baptized. You know why mission drift can happen? And I'm going to keep you a little bit longer tonight, but it's going to be all right. You'll be fine. You didn't get to come last month, so I got some extra time. You know what happens, why mission drift happens? Here's why mission drift happens. Because we begin to believe that what is happening in our lives is normal. Every day, everybody gets to experience it. And I want to tell you, as someone who's been in a church of 20,000+ people, someone who's been in a church of 500 people or less, someone who's served in churches of all kind of different ways, this is not normal. It's not normal. God is doing an amazing and incredible thing. I see what you're doing there. You're trying to decide whether you should clap or not because it's going to extend my time. I understand. Serving on the weekend. If you're not serving on the dream team and you're in this room, I want to tell you something. This is for you. It's not for us. It's for you. You're missing out. Because you're not a part of something that's so much bigger than you and blesses you so much. And so that's all I'm going to say is it's for you. It's for you. I know you don't have the time. I know you don't think you have the energy. You might not even think you have anything to offer. You do have the time because everybody's got the same amount. You do have the energy because God will give it through you through Holy Spirit. And you do have something to offer because everybody here is a 10 in some area. Every single person. So that's it. The second thing, I hope you're writing these down. If you're not writing these down, the first one was serve on the weekend. The second thing is being in, but hopefully for many of you, hosting a small group. We want to make sure that every single person that is at Freedom Church has the potential to say yes to a small group. Yes to serving on the weekend. I think you should serve every weekend, by the way. I'm just telling you. You want to hear from me? I preach almost every weekend. Hey, I take about 6 weekends off a year, so you take 6 weekends off a year, and then, let's just do this together. Let's just do that together. Serve every weekend. I promise, if you serve every weekend for 90 days and tell me your life isn't better, you come and tell me that, make an appointment with me, and I'll give you all the money back that you gave with serving. You didn't give any money with serving, so that's why I'll do that. All right, so being in, hopefully for many of you, hosting a small group. Did you hear that word, hosting a small group? Do you know what hosting a small group means? That means you don't have to have all the answers. That means you might not even have any of the answers yet. You might say a lot of this, I don't know, but I will get back to you on that. I sure don't know how to handle that, but I will get back to you on that. You may say that a lot. But you know what you can do? You might not can have all the answers, but you can open up your home. And you can clean it to a mediocre level. That's all you need to do, by the way, just a mediocre level. And you can sit around a table with people and go, what's God saying to you? And what are we going to do about it? You can do that. So we have more people. I want you to hear this again. We have more people that want to be in a small group than we have small group leaders to lead those small groups. I believe this room right here is going to change that. Right here. I'm not going to talk to the 1,500 about that. There's a lot of them that need to be in a small group, don't need to be leading a small group or hosting a small group, or they need to be in one. You right here, you need to be hosting one. You're hosting a small group. Serving, here's the third thing. Serving at least once a quarter in your community. Now, we've got some amazing people who serve every single month. And honestly, if I'm just being honest with you, I said every week serve in the church. I think you ought to show up every month to something, every single month. But here's what I want you to be able to say yes to, is serving in your community at least once a quarter. So at least 4 times a year that all 1,500 people who attend Freedom Church would say, I'm going to serve in my community at least once a quarter, 4 times this year. And we want you to have to be able to say yes to that. And then, here's the fourth thing. Serving at least once a year in the world. What we are being able to do through God's grace and His provision in Haiti is incredible. And that you ought to be involved in that in some way. You ought to go on a trip, and we can make more trips if you want to go on a trip. You ought to go on a trip. If you can't go on a trip for some reason, you ought to help pay for somebody to go on a trip so they don't have to even think about selling donuts. And then if you can do those 2 things, maybe you ought to think about praying with them and buddying up with them and going, how else can I help? What can I pray for you with? What can I help you pack? Can I get you to the airport? What can I do to be a part? I want everybody to be a part of something globally once a year. And I want to give you the time. So let me break this down just a little bit more. I think everybody ought to serve on the dream team. I think secondly, the consistent involvement in a small group is huge for spiritual growth and attending group. Third, I think that we want to give you more and varied opportunities to be able to serve in the community. So we have just a few opportunities right now. We want to give you more and varied opportunities to be able to do that. And so here's what we're going to do. Once a month, there will be opportunities for you to participate in serving and giving generously of your time as a church. You're going to start to see these advertised very soon. There's going to be opportunities starting in March, April, and then the rest of every single month. In addition to, we already have Adopt-A-Block. So we already got those going on every single month. In addition to that, we're going to have other opportunities for people to jump in and to serve. Because if it is a priority, then we need to give you more and varied opportunities to be able to do that. And so you're going to see that. In fact, in March, what we're going to do is we're going to have a team that's going to come up here, and you can be a part of this. We're going to give you an opportunity to be a part of this, to clean out our dream closet that has got clothes coming out of everywhere. So much clothes. You guys are super generous with your clothes. We got so much out there. We want to clean it up. We'll clean it out. Then our sisterhood is going to collect even more clothes. And so they're going to do something in March to collect a bunch of clothes. They're going to bring them up here, and they're going to help organize everything. And then on March the 10th, we're going to have the whole church, and I want you to be there. We're going to have the opportunity to have a free closet open up for people to be able to come get things that they need and that they need for the summer coming up and find clothes. And we're going to be able to bless people in our community, but as a church in March. And so that's the first thing that's coming up. In April, we're going to do this. Sisterhood is going to help with this, but you are too. You're going to collect. We're going to give you the opportunity to do this and bring the right supplies. And we're going to pack laundry baskets full of everything that everybody needs to clean a house and do laundry, and some coins, because many people in our Adopt-A-Block has to use a coin laundry. And so we put coins in there and all these things that you can put in there. And then as a church, we're going to give you the chance to go and taste and see Adopt-A-Block, just to taste and see, and go and help them hand out these amazing things. And then if we've got enough, we'll go hand them out other places too. And we're going to go serve our community and go, we care about you, we love you, and we believe that if you'll show up to Adopt-A-Block, see what they're able to do every month, that you'll fall in love with Adopt-A-Block, and then we'll plant those 6 more Adopt-A-Blocks, and then we'll have leadership in place to do those, and we'll do all the things that God has called us to do. And so that's going to be our April. We'll tell you more about May and June and July, and we'll keep them in front of you, and we're going to announce them on the weekends, and we're asking you to be a part of this. This isn't a, hey, if you can make it. No, this is a priority to our church, that if we went away, our church will be missed. See, we're going to win an award in this community again this year. I can't tell you what it is, but we wanted it for the second year in a row, a big award, and we need to live up to that. We need to not just go, because we're the biggest church, we get the biggest votes. Oh, look at us. No, we need to live up to it. And we need to be what that award says we are. And we're going to be. We're going to be. Because God has given us a mission. We've got the commander's intent. And I mean, I've never been more excited about what God's going to do. Also, but here's the thing. By the way, that all church on April will be April 7th. So they're called First Saturdays. We're going to do some amazing things. The one in March is not the first Saturday. It's because the first Saturday was too close just to deal with us, all right? So it's going to be First Saturday from then on. But we're going to do First Saturdays, and we're going to rock First Saturdays like nobody's business. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be incredible. Now, here's what I know. If you are who I think you are and have going on in your life what I think you've got going on, because you're like me, you're sitting there thinking, I don't have time to do this. I don't have the margin in my life to have small group every single week. I don't have the margin in my life to show up to serve on a Saturday for a couple hours. I just don't have the margin. And what we said is we want you to be able to say yes to the important things. We want you to be able to say yes to hosting a small group. We want you to say yes to serving in the community. We want you to be able to say yes to serving on the weekend. And so what we know is that courageous leaders have to make decisions, and we have to look at what we're doing, and we have to go, okay, you've got a point. And I remember sitting down with the original group of this church, and I saw Wayne sitting back here. He hates when I call him out, but I'm calling him out anyway. And so I remember Wayne sitting around with Wayne and a group of others, and I remember Wayne and Chris Hill and John West. They looked at me, and one of the things they said is they said, hey, we're getting a chance to start something new. Can you not meeting us to death? Like, have y'all ever been involved in a church like that? Where you did so many meetings that you couldn't do ministry? Have you ever had that happen to you? That you're meeting about doing ministry, and then you're so tired from the meetings that you can't even actually do the ministry that the meeting was about. So then you had to have another meeting to decide what you needed to do about not being able to do the ministry that the meeting gave you not to be able to do. You've been a part of that when you're just like, oh my goodness, if I have to meet again. And so what we always said is we will only ask you to do what we believe is feasible to do in the scope of your life. Like we're going to ask you to push it. We're going to ask you, because it's not normal to volunteer every week. It's not normal to be in a small group. It's not normal to serve on a Saturday. We're going to ask you to push it, but we also are going to not be unreasonable. And so as we've been looking, we're identifying some areas, and there's going to be more than one, but we're identifying some areas and some ways that we do things as a church that has some mission drift and that will allow you to say yes to the most important things. And one of the things that we have decided, and I will say we, but honestly, one of the things that I've decided, I'm just going to tell you this was me, that I sat down and I prayed about it and I thought about it. And can I tell you that I love First Wednesday? I love First Wednesday. I love getting up here and having very little notes and being able just to preach whatever God put on my heart earlier in the day. I love that I can be raw and unfiltered. I love that it's not practice. I love that sometimes the worship leader loses his voice on First Wednesday. I don't love that. I'm just joking with you. I love that. I love all that stuff. I just love the rawness of First Wednesday. Do you know that First Wednesday is growing? Have you looked around and seen that First Wednesday is growing? There's more people around. But we're not going to do First Wednesdays anymore. This is our last First Wednesday, at least for this year. And here's why. Because we said, if we're going to be able to tell you, you've got to say yes to these other areas, then we've got to make some margin in your life. And what we found out is that people were canceling their small group on this week. And that told us, that said, you can't do this and a small group on this week. What we know is if you've already got a night out on this week and we need to have a leadership meeting, it's very unlikely that you're going to be able to come to that. What we know that is if you come to church on Wednesday nights and you serve back in Freedom Kids and you kind of serve then, you don't want to serve again the next weekend because it's hard to do that. And so what we know is that it is putting a strain on people even though we love it. How many of you have ever been a part of a church that kills something that's growing because they believe it's the courageous thing to do to be able to do what we know that God has called us to do? And so we know that God has called us to do that. Here's another thing that's happening on Wednesday nights, and the secondary, but just as important a reason why we're not going to do First Wednesdays anymore. Our youth group is got it going on. Got it going on. And every single month, you've been playing for a long time, bro. I appreciate that, man. Every single month, they are like the engine that could, and they start week 1 is awesome, week 2 is great, week 3 of the month is incredible, and then we're going to take next weekend off. And then they start over in the last month. And I had to honestly tell myself, when I was a youth pastor, I would have hated that, hated it. I would have been begging to do youth on another night. I would have been like, oh my goodness, I can't believe this. I get momentum going. And how many of you know that students don't keep up with calendars as good as you do? Like they don't do that. And so it's like, are we having youth this week? Is this third Wednesday, first Wednesday? I don't know what Wednesday this is. And the momentum is being killed. And so what we want to do is give Alex and his team the opportunity to have a 52-week a year, get to it, make it happen, unbelievable, incredible youth ministry. And so that's what we want to do. And the last thing is we want you to be able to do the mission. We want you to be able to do the mission. So that's what we're going to do. This is our last First Wednesday, but I want you to know this. We're doing it for a reason. So I don't want people to, we're canceling First Wednesday. I can't believe we're canceling First Wednesday. Cheer pastor's canceling First Wednesday. I don't even know why. I love First Wednesday. I do too. I want to be able to worship. You can worship at home. And do you know what? It's as much worship to go worship at Adopted Block as it is to worship in here. I'm just saying. That's where I get fueled up for the week, a month, whatever. Come to the weekend more often. Some of you, mostly have you come every other week. So come every week. You'll be better. So that's what we're going to do. And I believe going out of this room, in fact, I'm going to pray for it right now. God, I'm praying for the person that was sitting in this room and thought, I know I'm supposed to lead a host a small group. That's me. I pray for the person that thought, I don't think that's me, but I'll do it. Man, I hate to see any people not be able to have a small group. I pray for the people that thought, that sounds scary having to go serve people. But man, that excites me just a little bit. That sounds different showing up on a Saturday to serve somebody else instead of serving me, but I can't wait for it. I pray for the people that thought, you know what? I can go to Haiti. I can do that. There's no reason I can't. I pray for the people that say, you know what? Serving once a month on the weekend really isn't all I'm capable of doing. I can do more than that. Because they realize, God, in this moment that you're giving us a mission, that you've given us responsibility of accounting. That, God, there are people that are far from you, God, but they're close to us. And you're giving us the opportunity to serve them. God, thank you. God, I pray for the dozens of people that are going to leave here and go sign up to be hosts of small groups. I thank you for the dozens of people that are going to go straight to the next desk and say, I want to serve on the dream team somewhere. I thank you for the dozens of people, hundreds of people who are going to show up on March the 10th and go, let's go serve this community like nobody's business. I'm praying for the dozens and dozens of people who say, I want to make a difference with my life. And God, we thank you that you've given us a vision for reaching this county, that you gave us a mission as a church. And God, as we sing and worship to you, just one more song. We're going to do one more song. As we sing and worship to you, God, I pray that you would seal this in our hearts and that we would go straight out into the foyer where, God, that you would just impress that on us, God. In Jesus' name. And we've got people ready for you in the foyer. We've got people ready to help you get connected. Go straight out of there. Don't wait to react. Don't wait to respond. Let's respond now through worship, but then let's respond through action after that.